What's up, guys? Coach Gaglione here, and this is another edition of the Gags Goals Update, our road to 220. So today was a bench press workout today. Like the squat workout, it wasn't exactly, things were not exactly according to plan. We had a couple of our members kind of cancel last minute, so we were very low on spotters. Typically, I like to have at least 3 other members present when I do a shirted or an equipped bench workout, just for safety. Also, I tend to be really bad at handing off myself. It's something I've been working on. Definitely been spoiled over the years with really good handoffs. And sometimes in a bench shirt, sometimes we do something that's called a 3-man handoff, which allows the lifter, the back spotter, the main spotter, the main handoff man, to get the bar out a little bit easier, especially when you're in a bench shirt. It's a little harder to control. It's a little bit harder to, it's even more important to keep your positioning, keep those shoulder blades down and back and retracted, and dig your chest up into the bench. And the reason being is obviously you're handling in a bench shirt super maximal loads that are going to be higher than your raw 1 rep max. And the overload can be significant. It could be 50, 100, 200. And in some cases, for the really elite multiply lifters, could potentially be 300 plus over your max. For me, in general, I, on average, tend to get somewhere between 150 to 200 pounds out of my bench shirt when I have a good shirt that fits me and my skill is on point and my triceps are strong enough. The shirt tends to work like a bow and arrow, tends to work like a spring. So as you are gathering tension, we're gathering tension, and then it's going to release. You're building tension on the way down, and then you're unloading. So it's going to really help you off your chest if you can keep good position. But your arch, you're keeping your chest up and your belly up becomes even more important. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to touch. And it really becomes more of a tricep dominant and a back dominant. So the back is going to help your overall stability and getting it to touch, your lats and everything like that. And the triceps is going to help you finish the weight lockout. A lot of times with shirted benchers, it's really that last inch that becomes very challenging. And I know that's always definitely been a struggling point for me. So one of the things that I've been doing as of late, I've been doing a lot of frequency in general for my upper body. And just in general, not just with the bench, but what I've been doing just because of my schedule, and I may have mentioned this before in previous videos, but just in case you're not aware, we have like a, I would say our program in general is moderate volume, and the frequency changes over time. As you get closer to the meet, the frequency will drop. But in general, for the majority of our training, we usually have 2 upper body focused days. For some of us that only train 3 days a week, some of our team members, we might do some upper body on the 3rd deadlift day. But in general, we have a squat focused day, a bench focused day, a deadlift focused day, and then a secondary bench day for in general when we're training 4 days a week. For those of us that are training 3 days a week, we might do some pressing movements on our deadlift day as well. So for me, I don't always have time for, an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, 2 or 3 hour workout. So I might do 1 to 3 barbell movements. In general, it's been, right now, my frequency and the volume's up a little bit because it's still early in the training cycle. So I've been trying to get 2 to 3 barbell movements. And then on the next day, I would usually finish up my isolation and my accessory type work on the next day. So what I've been doing in the case of the bench press, I've been doing a lot of more of my raw work, my dumbbell work, arm work, the tricep push down to the dumbbell bench, overhead press, incline press, things like that on my secondary day, as well as sometimes the day after. So I've been doing a lot. I've also been experimenting with more push-ups and even some dips, which I'm not always the fan of for a lot of people because it puts you in a really internally rotated position. I've been doing this just to kind of alleviate some of the pressure. I've been doing some dips with a slingshot. I find that works a lot better for most people. And since something like a dip is not a contested lift, if it does give you problems, it's one of those things where it's not really necessary. But I have noticed that with a lot of especially the old-time benchers, the guys that were benching 500 and 600 pounds raw, a lot of times they were really also good at dips as well. They would do some more contraindicated stuff like behind the neck pressing and dips and things like that. Not to say that, again, it just really depends on the person, but just kind of some of the things I've been experimenting with as I've gotten lighter. I've just been enjoying using my body for some body weight training. So I've been incorporating more things like dips, pull-ups, push-ups, and things like that, and then obviously on the lower body side, things like glute ham raises and back extensions, things like that as well. But for this video, we're talking more about upper body work. I've been doing a lot of just isolative tricep extensions, shoulder delt raises, things like that. I've also been including some barbell overhead pressing and some barbell incline pressing as secondary movements. Typically on my bench day, on my main bench day, depending on what it calls for the day, but especially on when I'm doing when the main focus is my equip bench, I tend to do a lot of board work as well. So just like my philosophy and our kind of methodology for equipped lifting is we typically do a lot of singles in training, because the more equipment that you have, it becomes a more technical lift. The more equipment you have, so going from just squats and a belt, then adding knee wraps, then adding briefs, then adding briefs and wraps, then adding a suit and wraps. The more layers of equipment you add, the more technical the lift becomes, and same thing with the bench shirt. So typically we like to utilize the slingshot a lot to increase the amount of volume, and it's also for overload. So for equipped lifters, we really enjoy using the Mad Dog slingshot quite a bit. I like using the Mad Dog. My Mad Dog slingshot is kind of old, and as I've gotten smaller, it's become a little bit looser and worn out, so I'm not getting quite as much out of it, but it's still providing a good overload effect. It also allows me to warm up into my shirted set. It's that much easier. So instead of kind of burning out, usually after I get past 3 plates or so, I'll usually do some slingshots sets in the warm-up, maybe even slingshots to a board, or we like to utilize the Elite FTS shoulder saver or bench blocks. I like the shoulder saver design a little bit better because it's kind of an arc. So sometimes with the bench block, if it doesn't hit you right, it can kind of throw off your bottom position. So I really like the Elite FTS shoulder saver quite a bit. Whether it be if you don't have someone to hold the boards, or you're just kind of warming up into your shirts, it's a little easier. You could have more spotters, and you don't need someone holding the board. So on this particular day, I warmed up to around 385 or so, and I did that with the slingshot and the shoulder saver pad. And then I typically, again, for this particular shirt, this was from Louis Ban, when we did a little costume change, I actually ended up using the shirt on my 3rd attempt at my last meet. I hit a really smooth, fast 490 bench after missing it on my 2nd attempt last meet at 242. So this shirt's been working really well for me. I just started to actually use it in training. I did not use it in training last cycle, but I did use it as my 3rd attempt for the last meet, and I was very successful with it. It is quite tight in the arms, and I feel like the chest plate fits me perfect. So one of the things that I'm doing, like I said before, I'm doing a lot of raw work to keep my arm size. I'm trying to keep my arm size as I drop body fat, because obviously if your arm size decreases, the shirt's not going to fit the same. So even if my belly shrinks, if the shirt fits the same, I could potentially get the same amount of carryover that I would at the heavier body weight. Especially if your gear fits very tight, losing a couple of pounds in either direction can really alter your performance and alter the fit of the shirt. One of the things that I like to also do as the attempts get heavier, I like to jack the shirt down a little bit more. It's a little bit harder to touch. It can potentially cause some problems. You may need to touch a little bit lower, but in general, you're going to touch a little bit lower in the shirt anyway. So I'm also kind of, one of the reasons I'm doing these video series in this vlog is just to kind of expose some of the equipped methods that we do and some of the things that we utilize, and just to kind of, show what I'm doing, hold myself accountable, and also just expose some of the equipped lifting, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions on it. There's not a lot of people that are doing vlogs on equipped lifting, especially, so I hope this serves as a learning tool for people that are looking to get into gear, because I do think it's a very viable option, especially as you get older. Maybe your joints get more beat up, you want to provide some compression on the shoulders. That being said, because of all the frequency and the volume I've been doing on my accessories and just doing more upper body work in general, sometimes I'm training my upper body probably, let's see, so usually Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes Thursday just for upper back. So potentially 4 to 5 times a week I'm doing some sort of upper body work. So 3 to 4 days on the low end if I have some more time. And it's not, and again, not every day is going to be hard and heavy. Some days might just be some kind of like your extra workouts just with some bands to flush out, just to flush out the system a little bit, just quote unquote flush out the system, get some blood flow into the triceps and shoulders. But in general, I'm training the upper body with a lot of frequency, especially early in the off season, because again, I'm trying to keep my hypertrophy, trying to keep my muscle mass as I drop some body fat. So I'm trying to juggle a lot of things. This is not necessarily ideal, but this is just what I'm doing right now because I am trying to be strong and lean. The main goal is to go 220, and obviously I want to establish a total, and if I could hit an all-time total PR, man, that'd be icing on the cake. So I'm definitely shooting for the stars, but if I end up on the moon, I'm not going to beat myself up over it. So on to the actual workout itself. So I worked up to, like I said, 385 in the slingshot with some boards. I did 495 last month during my suit testing. I did 515 to a 1 board. So on this particular day, I wanted to just kind of see what I could potentially touch with. I don't like to touch too much in training because it tends to wear out the shirt. This is something I learned from Donnie Thompson, and I do kind of agree. The more you kind of use your shirt, if you're touching too much in training, I do find it can tend to wear out the shirt. So, but I think the half board is something where between the chest, so you're not necessarily touching, but typically if you could do it to a half board, you can kind of suck it up and usually touch. I know there's some lifters that only go to a one board in training, but I think sometimes, especially if you have a short range of motion, that one board sometimes is too much of a gap between doing the one board and your shirt. So I think the half board's a good compromise. So we like to utilize the half board a lot, especially when doing so. I did 495, went up pretty smooth. I would like to hammer the lockout a little bit faster, but overall it went up pretty good. Actually, I didn't really pause too well in general, or I didn't really pause at all. I kind of just did more touch and go reps onto the boards. That being said, I did not sink into the board, so I'm happy about that. But the control on the bottom could be a little bit better. But since we only had one back spotter, we didn't have two sides. We raised the safety, the shoulder, the face saver is up just in case. But I'd rather be safe than sorry. So the standard could obviously be a little bit better, as the standard could have been a little bit better in the squat, but served the purpose for today. So I was really happy with how 495 went. Like I said, last month I did 515 to a one board, so this I wanted to go a little bit heavier, so I did 525 to a one board. So again, and that went up pretty smooth as well. I was pretty happy with that. I think as I've gotten lighter, even though I've lost some raw strength, I feel like my technique and my form is better. I've been able to get a better arch and a better position. So I actually haven't lost too much on my bench, if at all. So I'm very happy about that. My best all-time equipped bench is 575. On this particular day, I worked up to a 550 to a two board, so not too shabby. Again, the lockout could have been a little bit cleaner, could have hammered it a little bit better, but I tried to hold my lockouts for a bit. I could have, of course, I could have got some commands and things like that, so that's something I'm going to be looking to improve on in the future. After that, I did some board work with the slingshot. I think the slingshot is a great tool to get some more volume. I don't remember, I forgot if I mentioned, my left pec was bothering me a little bit. It has been bothering me because if they added just my shoulders in general are bad from wrestling. So utilizing the slingshot can be very helpful to improve overall volume, get some extra work in, obviously get that overload effect. It does kind of mimic the groove of a bench shirt a little bit. So I do like the slingshot work, especially just to get more volume in, and especially for an equipped lifter, I think it's a great tool. So I did two sets at 385. I did one set at 365, one set at 385 with the slingshot with the boards. With pretty minimal rest, so I could have maybe got a little bit more volume. And then after that, I did 5 sets of 5 with my feet up, just to work my arms a little bit harder. I did a closer grip on that to work my triceps a little bit to a 3 board using the bench block. I did those with a self handout just to kind of work that a little bit, just in case I only have a one-man handoff, just to get a little bit better on the handout. I did 275 for 5 sets of 5, and I really tried to hold the lockout a little bit longer just to really engage the triceps. I'll do my accessories tomorrow and my secondary bench day on Friday. So overall, I was pretty happy with today. Again, as we get closer to the meet, I want to drop the board height and do kind of similar weights. I'm probably not going to go much lower to 495. I'll probably stick to the half board for that. If I'm not feeling as good, I may take that to a one board, but that's going to be, I'm hoping, around a projected opener is around 495. Whatever that kilo weight is, it's 496, I believe, that kilo number. So I'll probably do that, just keep hammering that number, and then again, as long as I'm handling around 550 or so in training, I want to obviously reduce the board height. If I could eventually work my way down to like 550 or so to a one board, getting closer to the meet, I'd be very happy with that. Continue to build up my raw strength, continue to build up my tricep strength. So overall, a successful workout. I'm pretty happy. So this was again going into we're just getting into the beginning stages. We've got plenty of time. But I'm pretty pleased. I got a couple more pounds to go. I've been fluctuating between 238, 240, 241, 242, somewhere in that range, depending on how hydrated I am and how much I ate the day before. But overall, I'm pretty happy. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. I hope it gives you a little inside look on how we train some of our equipped lifters and how I'm training myself, juggling being a business owner, being a coach, and also trying to attain some of my own lifting goals, my health goals. So trying to be strong and lean. We're getting there one step at a time, trying to stay in my lane, focus on my own personal progress, establish some new PRs, a few weight classes down. Super heavyweight is long gone. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please subscribe. Definitely check out the links below. And until next time, stay strong, and I'll see you soon.